remember you were like, sometimes you don't want to put $50 on Korean baseball, Ross, and like that. The habits of the two sects of people, I think, is such a perfect
Between
topic.
wealthy people and
wealthy people, and maybe someone who's like, I just can't save money. What is it? Let me get four scratch offs.
I have all my numbers, all my grandkids' birthdays right here. So are you going to punch us in, or are you just going to sit there? Come on, Ed. Leading in, you were talking about habits.
Yes.
The difference between what wealthy people do. And I guess the question is, did they have those habits before they became wealthy? Did they develop them as they became wealthy? What is the difference? What does a person who likely won't ever be wealthy do that a person who's likely to become wealthy does or does not do?
You know, whenever I talk to people who have wealth, you can tell, at least in my experience, of whether or not their parents made the money or if they did. Maybe that's a little too judgmental.
No. Well, I think we've talked about this before. In nearly 40 years of doing this, there are some again, there's no absolutes in this world, but I would say there's a lot of commonalities between people who inherit money and people who, let's say, are self-made, for lack of a better word, right? And I know the argument, nobody's self-made, and I agree with that. But for the sake of this conversation, somebody who inherits money, there are some things I see, some traits in them, which are different. And what I mean by that is and I said this years ago, I remember walking to lunch with my partner, and we were talking about some people that had come in and inherited. And I said, look, he's like, oh, they're a mess. They don't want to pay for anything. They're not sure they want our services and all these things they were talking about. They got a little bit of a paranoia streak in them. And I said, look, it makes perfect sense. If you inherit money, like if you're not wealthy, like you're 57 years old, you've never had any money, and now grandpa dies and you get $3 million, right? Well, you don't know how grandpa made that money. You don't know if you lose this $3 million, how to get it back, right? Grandpa knows. Grandpa's gone.
Yeah,
right?
Grandpa's not coming back.
Right. So that money was literally given to you. So in your mind, how you get money is to be given money, right? And then you hang on to it with both fists, because if some smart guy like me walks and says, hey, I'll help you manage your money and do good, they're like, I don't think so, buddy.
You get real Bilbo Baggins, don't touch my ring.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's the scariest part in that entire movie.
For sure.
Horrifying.
So to that point, I think that people who inherit money are a little bit more paranoid. They're kind of looking over their shoulder. Again, not everybody, but if they inherited that money without any wealth accumulation on their own over their lifetimes, which is why young people struggle so much. Rock stars, athletes, why do they struggle? Because they're not equipped for it. They're not mentally, it's not their fault. They're not bad people. We all judge, right? Oh, that guy got $10 million contract and now he's bankrupt.
I'm so happy you're saying this.
Of course he is.
I'm so happy you're saying this. It's grown to be a pet peeve. You give any average 19-year-old $5 million. Run the numbers. Let's see how that works out. You think they're going to turn it into 8?
Yeah.
Dude, they're down at Club 11, man.
Yeah.
They're in Miami.
They've got 3 cars. They got 2 houses. And that's what I would have done, right? I thank God I didn't make a lot of money in the early years of my career, because I would have done stupid stuff with it. So it would have been the odd person at 18, 19, 20 years old who gets $4 or $5 million, $10 million and keeps it. Right? That's why they all try to get to the second contract. You get to the second contract or the second record deal.
I learned some things.
Yes. I learned that I don't have any more money.
I did not mean to invest half of it into my local ice cream store.
Yes. And they all got to have a restaurant. That's the first rule.
That they do.
Yeah.
So those are some of that's the difference between someone, who's been given it, and those are the habits of someone who inherited it. But I remember we talked about this a while ago. And I know I have some habits. So, I enjoy a good bar sit down. Oh, there's some sport on. I'll throw 10 at it or 20 at it and make the time a little bit
in the prediction markets.
In the prediction market,
yes.
Man, I am going to that's how I'm going to word that to my wife. No, it's prediction. No, it's analysis. I'm an analysis. Yeah, I can't even say the word. What I'm trying to ask though is the habits of people who do not have $5,000 saved versus the habits of someone who has $50,000 saved. And let me get ahead of this, because whenever money talks can happen, people can get defensive.
Sure.
And this hypothetical, let me blow your hater out there's mind, is they have the same job. They make the same money.
100%.
And you can have those two different outcomes with two people working across from each other at the same, the same two cubicles. So the whole that must be easy for you to say.
Right.
I'm still talking to you and about you. You can do that. It's up to you if you are the person having that same job. Are you the 50,000 person who has saved up, or the 5,000 or $1,000 with the same job saved up? What are the two habits between those two people that just are yin and yang?
Yeah, and I'm so glad you said it that way, because it triggers in my mind a story I tell all the time. And in my career, I've talked to thousands and thousands of 401k participants. Part of my career, I did that all the time. I stood in front of groups of hundreds of people and said, you should save money, and here's why, right? I know, it's an odd concept. But I always tell the same story. There's always in those groups, and recognize there's a school that will go unnamed that I had the 401k for years, and using them as an example, there would always be a guy, and it was always a guy, sitting in the front row with his arms crossed. And he hated me. He hated everything I had to say. He didn't like my funds. He didn't like my plan. He didn't like my fees. He hated all of it, right? And almost every time in this example of a person I'm kind of creating from a lot of people, this avatar, if you will, I would sit down, I'm like, he'd be like, oh, I don't like this and I don't like that, and the plan sucks and this, that, and the other. I'd be like, all right, well, let's look at your account. I get on my computer and I pull up their account. And invariably, that person would have $3,500 saved. They're 57 years old. Now, we can all sit here and go, we know why he was mad. And he wasn't mad at me. He was mad because he knew he was in bad shape. And he had to blame somebody, because it certainly couldn't be his fault. It couldn't be his fault that he didn't save. If you're a cynic, if you say something sucks, that's a good reason not to do it, right? If you tell yourself, that guy with the tie is out to steal my money, the fees are too high, I don't trust Wall Street, that's a really good reason you've given yourself not to save. Right.
I recently heard this ism is that if you are convinced that somebody has ruined your life, you're right.
Yeah, that somebody's you.
Yeah. Like it's kind of I don't want to get too hippy dippy, but the lack of accountability. I don't know. I come from the train of thought is like the faster you realize it's probably your fault, the better.
Yeah.
That's just me, though.
It's not just you. And we don't want to get all self-helpy here. That's not the point. The point is that sitting next to that guy in that same crowd is another teacher who hasn't looked at me once. She's reading a magazine, and this is a real story. Reading a magazine, and every meeting I did at that school for 10 years, she never once even looked up at me. So when she went to retire, which she did recently, she came to me and she said, okay, Scott, I'm ready to retire. What should we do with my $1.2 million?
Yeah, that's a difference.
So
I'm not good with math, but
yeah, it's a little better. So again, to your point, and to be fair, again, people are going to look for reasons to push back, and there are plenty of reasons to push back. But to be fair, people have different, maybe there was a health issue, maybe there was a hardship that occurred in their life. I get all of that. But on average, that's not the reason. On average, it's one person saved, had a process and the discipline to follow. And the process was, hey, Mr. HR person or Mrs. HR person, can you take 3% a year from, or a paycheck from me and put it in that 401k thing I don't know anything about, right? Because you're not. That's the other part is people will say, well, I don't know how to invest it. Or what's the best thing to put it in? They start overthinking it and then they put it in something and then we go through '08 and they think, well, the whole thing's crap. I'm getting out of this. This is a big joke. And everybody who got out in '08 has now missed out on the largest bull market in history, right?
Wow.
So again, to your point, it's simply habits, process, discipline, however you want to describe it. But if you say to yourself, look, I'm just going to save and I'll go to a professional every once in a while to make sure I'm headed in the right direction. I honestly, I had someone say this to me early on in my career. I can't remember the circumstance. I think I was dealing with a client who wasn't doing what they needed to do. I said, you need to do this, and they're not doing it. And my mentor at the time said, well, Scott, what problems is it do they think are going to be solved by not saving money? Has anybody ever solved a problem by not saving money, right? And it was a good point, and I get that will be lost on a lot of people when you're in front of them because they got whatever's going on in their life. But again, to put a bow on this thing, you had two people sitting in the same audience. One was cross-arm guy. One was magazine lady. She retired with 1.2. The cynic who knew everything had $3,700 in his account. He was 57 years old, and he was mad, not at me, although I was the target. He was mad at himself.
So you brought up 401ks, man. There it is. There's the big behemoth of a term that I don't think the average person fully knows. And by average person, I mean me. I'm the average person not fully understanding 401ks. First 6 months, dude, I thought it was like $400,000.
Right.
Right? That's what everyone thinks.
That's where you start. Everybody gets $401,000.
Everyone gets $401,000 off rip.
It's like the new Trump accounts, only less and very different.
Talk to me. I always have this long debate with my best friend, and I have all my friends now. We're in the same age group, so we're talking money and challenging each other. We all have like similar financial goals. I'm not gonna lie, outside looking in, we're pretty adorable as a
there's
group.
No doubt.
As a group,
you're a cute group.
We're a cute group of mid 30-year-old men trying our best to save money.
Yes.
But he is a huge fan of IRA Roths. And he's not the biggest fan of 401ks.
Interesting.
And I wish I could have that conversation with him.
Yeah.
But I told him, I said, give me a week and we will talk about this because I got a cheat code.
Yes.
That's you.
Yeah. Oh, good.
I do not know what the difference. Here's my best guess. IRA Roth versus 401k. One has you getting taxed now. The other has you getting taxed later.
Yeah. You're on the edge of brilliance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
you're
you're brilliance adjacent.
All right, I'll take that.
Yeah. So here's the thing.
That's the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me.
You're welcome. So they're two different. They're the same, but they're different. And here's how. An IRA is an individual retirement account, right? As the acronym would imply.
Whoa.
Part of an IRA, there are two kinds of IRAs, right? There's the traditional IRA that you put money in. If your income allows, you can deduct it, right? So that's an immediate gratification situation. I put $1,000 in, I save $2,500 or $250 on my taxes in my hypothetical example. And then the money grows tax deferred. 1,000 turns into 5. Someday I retire, I take it out, and I have to pay Uncle Sam at that moment.
Got it. That's IRA.
That's a traditional IRA. Conversely, a Roth IRA, same limitations in terms of your ability to contribute to them. No deduction, right? You don't get a deduction. You don't get immediate gratification of saving $250. But if 1,000 turns into 5,000 in 30 years, you get to take the 4,000 out completely tax-free.
Okay.
On the back end. Now, here's where your friend's a little confused. In that an IRA and a Roth they're just cousins of a 401k. They're both what we call qualified accounts. Qualified accounts means it's tax deductible or tax deferred or tax free, Roth, traditional, whatever. There's a traditional 401k, there's a traditional IRA, there's a traditional Roth in a 401k?
Never heard Roth and 401k ever in the same sentence. I didn't know that about that remix.
It's about to get sexy. And there's an IRA Roth, right? The only difference between an IRA Roth and a 401k Roth is the amount you can contribute. So if he likes IRA Roth and he has the ability at his 401k where he works to do a Roth there, he can do literally close to definitely twice as much, if not 3 times as much, in the 401k version of the Roth. It's the same thing, only more.
And then I'm assuming that those Roths also don't have, like, sometimes these 401ks have a company match.
They do.
Roth IRAs also do that same thing.
They do not. So if he likes this is often the shiny, better version of the Roth. So if he's working somewhere where there is no 401k, then obviously what he's doing makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
But he's limited to $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a year. I don't even remember the limit. Somebody will put that up at some point during editing. Yeah, it's right there. The limits will go up, but he's limited to $6,000, $7,000, maybe $8,000 a year in the IRA version. In the 401k version, it's literally twice that. So if he let's say he put $15,000 a year into a 401k Roth. And the company match, if they have a match, not all companies match, but most do. And let's say that match was 100% of the first 3% of his income, just to make the math simple. He makes $100,000 a year. He puts in $3,000. They give him $3,000 that they then put in the traditional side because they can't put it in the Roth. That's the way the rules are worded. But again, if he likes Roth here in an IRA, he will love Roth in a 401k. And here's the funny part is people will often be skeptical or cynical about 401ks because it's offered by the company. And we don't like things the company gives us, right? We're skeptical, we're cynical.
I hate my job.
Right, exactly.
I'm never doing this again.
But if you say to your employer, I don't want to contribute to my 401k because I don't trust this, right? And you say, they have the same thing, 100% match on the first 3% of your income. And you make $50,000 a year, that's $1,500. You are literally saying to your boss, hey man, I'm totally good with the income I make. You keep that $1,500. That is literally what you're saying to that person.
Now, I've always wanted this answer. This is not on the notes, but I've always wanted to know this. Why do they do it?
Well, it's not for unselfish reasons.
There's no way that it's not. Is it a tax write-off for companies?
Yes, one. And two, it's a retention tool. So that's a benefit.
I'm not leaving the job.
Right. If you have a 401k with $100,000 in it and you're only vested in, say, 50,000 of it, you're not going to take another $1 an hour to go down the street. They know that. So take advantage of the fact that now you may still do it because you're not good at math, but the reality is it's a retention, no different than health. And no company, I have a company and I'm a nice guy, but no company wants to give you health insurance. They don't want to pay for 401ks, right? But they do it because
it's good for their business.
It's good for their employees. It's good for their culture. It keeps employees happy.
And really, who has the egg on their face when you look at your boss and go, you don't know what to do with my money? And then they go ahead, look at their little, pocket watch and they go, all right, bud. Well, we'll keep it then.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're doing this for you. We're just, how expensive it is to hire new employees. That's what we're trying to avoid. We don't really care. We're just trying to make sure that you're happy with your job.
In by law, they have to offer certain benefits in a certain way. And if you say, yes, I could get this $1,500 match, but I don't want to, they're high-fiving each other because they've met their obligation. They can put money in the 401k. For themselves as owners. I could do that as an owner, right? And if you work for me and I say, I'm going to give you 100% match up to 3%, and you say no, I'm like, excellent.
Yeah.
I like what's happening here.
It's like going to a buffet and be like, I'll just have the appetizer.
Exactly.
No, man, it's a buffet. You
just a small bowl of cantaloupe, please.
Please, that's all I want. So Well, I'm here for concrete, black, white facts throughout this entire project that we have going here at Aftermath. Roth IRA, 401k, Roth 401, any of those four.
Yeah.
All great.
All great. Not bad.
Is there any con to the Four Horsemen of Saving?
Well, before I get into the con, let me say this. Fidelity just did a study recently on millionaires and how they accumulated their millions, right? So they're a huge company with tons of millionaires who invest with them. So they did a study. Where did that money come from? Seven out of 10 came from saving in a 401k. Period. Hard stop. And people think, well, they must have sold a widget or invented something or been a highfalutin physician or no, back up.
Yeah.
401k accounts for 7 out of 10 millionaires in this country. And I believe we're well over 500,000 of those 401k millionaires in this country. So if you want the number one way that is done in this country, that is it. In terms of cons, the cons are it's long-term money, right? This goes back to our argument in the last episode, which was you should have some savings so you can let the 401k do its thing, right? Because if you get overzealous, you watch Ross and Scott, you're like, I'm gonna put all my money in the 401k.
Wait.
Don't do that. But put money in you don't want back. I always joke with clients when they give me money, they invest with us, and they come back for the money. I say, I don't give money back. It only comes this way, right? It's obviously a joke, but that's how you should think of the 401k, right?
Sayonara. Goodbye.
I'll look at it once a year. I mean, I'm going to admit right on this show, I have a substantial amount of money in my 401k. I have yet to look at it this year. I haven't opened the statement. I haven't called anybody. I know what it's in. I know it's going to do fine. It probably was down 1 month and up and up. What is the point of looking at it like that?
I do not have a substantial 401k, but I do have one, and it's not phenomenal because your boy was 18, 19, got a corporate job. I was like, you can't tell me what to do with my money.
Yeah.
You can't do that. God, I hate myself because that is still the biggest regret that I have financially. I wish I could wring my old teenage neck, which was starting to wrinkle even back then. I don't even understand how you get a wrinkly neck before you can buy a drink legally. But there I was thinking that you can't tell me what to do with my money. I can do. Right. I'm the better sayer and I'm the better doer in this. And you know what's funny is they just looked at their pocket watch.
Yeah.
And they went, are you sure, bud?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it's free money. It's going to be a little less on the paycheck, but you could not tell me anything different. I thought I knew. Now, when you talk about 401k, 70%, that's
insane.
That's the craziest fact
we have
said.
Right? Would anybody guess that?
No one.
No.
Because we're looking at our phones and we're looking at crypto bros and people. Yep. No one. That doesn't make the news. In fact, it's probably the most boring way to become a millionaire. But I would argue, is there a boring way to become a millionaire? I don't think there is. I think being a millionaire is actually pretty exciting and filled with comfort and ease. I don't find that very boring. I don't find it boring to have free time. And props to those 70% of people. How old do you? Oh man, there's never a time not to start a 401k or a Roth, any of these long-term savings. The Four Horsemen of Saving. Yeah. No matter how old you are, how many kids, would you say that you not have to, because everyone's different, but you should figure out one of those four? That is a great trajectory. If you're struggling to save money, that would be the easiest, most efficient way.
Yeah, because it's out of sight, out of mind. If you have money in your checking account that you're looking at all day, you're going to find a place for it. We all do that. It's like, oh, I got this. I should go out to dinner, or I should do whatever, buy a new car. And also remember, 401ks come with all kinds of automated mechanisms that allow you to say, I'm going to start at 3, but every year I want it to go up 1% a year. You can actually do that automatically when you sign up to say, there's an escalator in most 401ks that say, you started at 3, next year I want it to go to 4, the next year I want it to go to 5, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, up to a limit of 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. So I think people, again, they overthink these things. They see this big list of funds that they have to pick, and they're like, I don't understand this. I don't know. There's a green one and a red one and a moderate one and a conservative one and an aggressive one. Am I aggressive? I don't know if I'm aggressive. Look, they're inside of most 401ks, and we're running out of time here, but what I would say is there are models, and most of them have one of those dumb questionnaires that we all hate to fill out. How do you feel about risk? If the market does that, how will you feel? And yada, yada. Do it. Process. Just take a minute. It's silly and it's a little basic and it's a little cliched. Just do it. And it will say you should buy this model, a growth model, a conservative model, a balanced model, whatever. Set it and forget it. Yeah, put it in there. There are target date funds. If you're 36 years old and you're going to retire in 20 years or 30 years, so 2055, there is a fund that says target date 2055. And it is designed for a person who's going to retire in 30 years.
And then I like how you said, set it and forget it. 401ks and crock pots have a lot in common.
They do.
Look at that.
Yeah.
And also, Scott, you've seen your 401k once, if any. You said not once yet.
Not once this year have I looked at the statement.
I am proud to say I've looked at mine 48 times.
Yes. How'd that help you?
It kept me up late at night, and I don't know why I do it. It ruins my mental health. I suggest no one should look at your 401k too much.
It's the same issue we have with phones, right? It's clients. Most of my clients have been broken to that habit because it's a pointless endeavor, but it's the dopamine, right? We look at our phones every 5 minutes because it's a dopamine hit, right? The same is true of our statements, our 401k statements, our brokerage statements is every morning. How'd we do?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter, right? I mean, absent somebody stealing your money, which I think is a good reason to look occasionally, right? But looking at it every morning is simply, it's just a habit. And it's a bad dopamine-inducing habit.
And then speaking of dopamine-inducing habit, man, I really hope you take my side on this one, or else I'm going to look pretty not great on this one. One of my biggest pet peeves, right? I've got friends who own stocks. I've got friends that own crypto. We'll use the crypto bros, all right? Yeah. I'll put this hypothetical on the crypto guys.
You're going to anger some people now.
I know. They go, did you see the market yesterday? Just made $500.
Yeah.
Just made $500.
Yeah.
And I go, did you sell?
Yeah.
And they usually go, no. It increased in $500.
Yeah.
Who is right? Who is wrong? I look at him. I hear that all the time.
Sure.
See what the stock market did? I made $2,000. And then I go, did you sell?
Yeah.
And they go, no. Did they make $2,000 if they don't sell?
I mean, technically on paper they did. No different than if a stock goes from $1 to $5. You could argue, well, did I make the $4 or did I not? Right?
Yes, I guess that's really the question.
Yeah, of course that's true. Right? Here's the problem: they're never going to call you up and say, "Ross, I got my ass kicked yesterday. I had $2,000. Now I got $1,200." They're going to leave that part out of the conversation. None of my positions on crypto are to say it's not legitimate, or whether it's legitimate or illegitimate. The point is, the reason people use crypto, most, again, young men, 80% of the people buying crypto are typically young men, is they're doing it because they believe it's a shortcut. And there has never, I repeat, never been a shortcut that worked out long term, right? So you could say, well, Bitcoin's legit, this, that, and I won't argue that with you. I've said for years, Bitcoin is not nothing. It's just not something. And right now we don't know what it is. It's basically a store of value. But to think that Bitcoin is going to go from, and it might, I tell people it's the dumbest thing you could buy that might make you rich.
Yeah.
But it'll be a total accident. Right? You just got lucky that day. And if you're buying things that you're it's no different than buying a lottery ticket. There's no skill in it. You hand somebody $1 and you scratch it off, and some people become millionaires that way. Most people don't. That is true of crypto as well.
I always just win another damn ticket.
Right. That keeps you coming.
You get another, you are ready to scratch again? I'm like, skip the middleman, dude. Just let me win or lose on one.
That's the prefrontal cortex of your brain getting its dopamine feed. So
you got me again.
So again, understanding what crypto is and isn't, and they're not wrong that they probably did make money that day and they're going to tell you about it. But if you don't hear from them for a week, that means those other 6 days weren't so great. And that's human nature. I have buddies, when I was young, I had some buddies that used to go on the gambling cruises. Mm-hmm. And they always, I repeat, always won $750. Now, I know they went on other cruises that I didn't see them after or they didn't say anything after, but whenever they told me, they won $750. So we know that the other 3 cruises they went on, they probably lost money, but they're not telling anybody that because that's what we do because of ego.
There's only been one time where I've ever posted any gambling things on the internet, and they weren't losses.
Yeah, exactly.
They weren't losses, I'll tell you that.
No.
So this phenomenal conversation between the IRA. Listen, I didn't even know that there was remixes of Roth or IRA. Roth. I didn't know that there was a Roth 401k.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody knows that. Why? God, I have so many questions. We're out of time. I have an idea. We'll talk about this on the next episode. But there's so many questions that I still have. Why is Roth so correlated to IRA and not 401k? Everyone knows about a Roth IRA, but this is breaking news to me. Why I've never heard of a Roth 401k before.
Yeah. I think it's an underutilized and underappreciated tool that we'll talk about.
Yeah, and
next time.
But the big fact that we should not, I just want to say it again, 7 out of 10 people through Fidelity, millionaires through their 401k. If you don't have one, there is never a better time than now.
Agreed.